Yes, we can. Sure, we can change the world.
Welcome to the YALI Voices podcast, your home for the best stories from members of the Young African Leaders Initiative Network. Be sure to subscribe to the YALI Voices podcast and visit yali.state.gov to stay up to date on all things YALI. In this episode of the YALI Voices podcast, we are sitting down to talk with Festus Moses. Festus is from Nigeria, and in addition to being a YALI Network member and 2024 Mandela Washington Fellow, he is an entrepreneur who, while building his footwear and leather goods business, saw the need for increased skills training and education. He has taught over 100 young people the art of leather craftsmanship. This, along with business development training, has empowered these students toward their own entrepreneurial journey. He sees entrepreneurship as a way for all people to make positive economic changes for themselves and their community. Festus, welcome to YALI Voices.
Thank you very much, Bob. I'm very much delighted to be here, and thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. So, Festus, you're here because we had a conversation the other day about business and about giving people the opportunity for a better future. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Let us know who you are.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Festus Moses. I'm from Nigeria. I'm originally from Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria, but I'm based in Kano State, Nigeria. And I'm the founder of Most Collections. Most Collections is a fast-growing leather and footwear manufacturing company in Nigeria. And the company was founded in 2021. And since then, we've been able to serve more than 3,500 customers across Nigeria. And we also have customers from 4 African countries. That's Ghana, Cameroon, Rwanda, and South Africa. And since we started the company, we've been able to have 3 full-time staff and 2 interns. And so far, so good. We've been able to meaningfully give meanings to people's life. And for me, that's self-fulfillment, because I'm always happy when I tend to see how I can help people move from a particular stage of their life, growing upwards to a bigger version of themselves. Because as a growth addict, as somebody that loves personal development, I would say I take the ownership of making sure that I develop myself, and of course, others around me. So it's a self-fulfilling journey for me to have started the business, and I'm now seeing the possibility of also impacting people, the youth and the community people around me. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
That's amazing. So you described yourself as a growth addict.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What is it all self-development? Is it professional development? Is it personal development? What does growth addict mean to you?
Okay, so personally, the word growth addicts, it revolves around my personality. And by that I mean I'm somebody that is very committed first to my personal development. I am committed to the skills development of myself. I'm committed to the professional development of myself. Everything that would make me to become a better version of myself. And that's because I have this innate capacity and confidence in myself that I can always be better. I can always be a better version of myself. So that's very perspective of how I see myself tends to propel me to always look like, okay, I know I'm good, but what can I do better? And I've always in somehow been kind of inspirational to people around me, because I always try to tell them, okay, this is good, but I feel you can also do better. Not in a way to make as if I'm perfect, but to also be a kind of motivation to people that if I can do it, then every other person can do it. Anyone else can do it. And that's it.
That's amazing. Is this something that you have always had within you? When did this start?
Okay, for me, my journey to personal development started from my self-discovery. I read a lot of books. Yeah, I read a lot of books, and I also came up from the background where a lot of people didn't actually believe in me. They didn't believe in my potential. But one good thing about me is that one of my key leadership strengths, and I think the second in the Clifton leadership strength, is personal belief on myself. So while a lot of people tend not to believe in me, I am so much confident about myself, about my abilities, about what I can do. So so when people seem not to believe in who I am and what I can become, it's kind of subtles the motivation in me to become who I am. And at the moment, I put in every work that I get to do just to become who I am, not to impress anybody, but to just tell myself, yeah, I got you. I can do it, because I also believe that I am the number one motivator of myself. If I strongly believe in myself and who I am, in my capacity, my capability, then the world would someday come to believe in me. So I need to do that by myself first, so that I can get other people to.
How do you maintain the energy to keep that momentum up, that momentum of self-discovery and research in the self, and then self-development? How do you keep up that momentum, that energy?
Okay, so every year I structure my life into 4 quarters. So I have quarters for personal development. I have quarters for leadership. I have quarters for entrepreneurship and business growth. And as somebody that is keen, I have a keen interest and a background in technology, I have quarters on what I can do to develop myself. So my life basically revolves around 4 things. And that is leadership, entrepreneurship, technology, and humanity. So I tend to, each quarter of the year, I focus on, okay, what can I do to help myself in this quarter? And this quarter, I want to work on leadership. What can I do to improve myself? And that gets that done. And then I look into my entrepreneurship and lifestyle. Okay, what can I do to project my business, to promote my business? Do I need to start seeking for maybe opportunities to apply for grants? Do I need to start seeking for business development opportunities? And I get that done. And I look into humanity. Okay, I'm so much that is very much committed in volunteering, and of course humanity as well as a whole. So what do I do to how can I give back to the society? In what ways can I contribute and make, at least even if it's one person's life, better? How can I do that? And I tend to focus that. And the last part is technology. I have a background as a computer science graduate, so I'm always keen on, okay, how can I complement my technological skills to what I'm doing in the business? And that was always make me a bit of relaxed, because I have a bit of knowledge in technology, and I'm a self-growth addict, like I said. I combine the business knowledge that I learn with technology and try to see how I can foster ahead my business endeavors.
So it's interesting, because my question was going to be, how on earth did you come up with this 4-quadrant, 360-degree yearly self-development program? But then you said that you were a computer science student, and all I can think about is project management. So am I on the right track? How did you come up with this system, and how do you stay disciplined?
Okay. First, I am a very intentional person. I am also a very focused-oriented person. I'm goal-oriented. A lot of people that knows me for this. Most times, I know exactly what I want to do. Then I focus my energy on working on it. Even if it's one thing I need to do, a goal I want to achieve, I would focus on those goals. If it is 2, I'll focus on those 2 goals. If it is 3, I'll focus on those 3 goals. Now, that doesn't mean that I doesn't have a whole broad of shared interest, but I like to pick them one at a time. That's why I tend to structure my life in such a way that, okay, this quarter of the month, if I'm working on leadership, what can I do to help myself grow leadership-wise? If I'm working on entrepreneurship, what can I do to help myself grow on entrepreneurship-wise? And that's how I tend to balance it.
That's amazing. If I didn't watch television, I would probably be a more motivated person. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
No, it's an amazing method. Talk about how you help train others. Let's start talking about your business. You said you have a leather goods business.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so like I mentioned before, my journey into entrepreneurship is one that I would say was born out of the desire to be different from others. So in Nigeria, it's something very common that a lot of graduates, when they're done with school, they try to get government jobs. And if you don't have somebody that could help you do that, it could be very challenging. In my case, I was also a victim of that. And after I graduated, I applied for a few federal government jobs, and two of it I got selected. But I got a bottleneck, and that was on how to see how I can maybe try to sort somebody to be able to get the opportunity. And since I'm from a background that I don't actually have a support of people, I got denied of the opportunity. And on the second occasion, it was when I went for a pre-recruitment exercise with one of the federal agencies in Nigeria, and I was subjected to sit in a very harsh weather condition because I'm from the southern part of Nigeria. The weather condition that we experience is different from what's happening in the northern part. But because of the mandatory NYC program, the Nigerian Youth Service Corps, where after every young Nigerian is graduate from school, you tend to serve the nation for a couple of 1 year. So I was posted to Kano State, and when I was doing the pre-recruitment training, I was subjected to sit under the hot sun and for a couple of hours, and then something struck on me. So something just spoke to me like, it's because I'm looking for a job that I'm seated here like this. And I'm like, okay, no matter what happens, I am going to own a company that I'm also going to create job opportunities and employment opportunities for young people. And that came in 2018. Then I was still new in Ghana. It came in September 2018 precisely. And throughout 2019, I didn't actually do much, but the thought kept coming on my mind. I didn't know how to go about it. And in 2019, early 2019, I stumbled upon somebody that I would say his journey into entrepreneurship, because it's somebody very close to me, somebody I know who is from. So his journey into entrepreneurship sparked an interest in me. Oh, so if this person can come from almost a no background like me and is getting to where he is today in entrepreneurship race, then I may need to consider. As a matter of fact, before I graduated from school, I've always been seeing myself working in a telecommunication company. So I've always been seeing myself as like this corporate guy. I have to move in with them corporate world. But the story changed when I met this person, and I got to learn about his journey into entrepreneurship, and I got inspired. And that was how the narrative started changing, and I got to learn a lot from him. And in 2019, late 2019, I got an opportunity to be on a platform called Z-Learning Annex, where a 2022 Mandela Washington Fellow, his name is Emmanuel Obiteng. I'm always proud to mention him everywhere. So he has this foundation called the Z-Learning Annex, where he trains people and bring young generations of Nigerians in Kano State to help give shape to their life. So in one of those Friday trainings, this happens every Fridays, and it's voluntary, it's free. So he brings people from all areas of life, all walks of life, to train and speak to these people to help give meaning to their life. So in one of the trainings on Fridays, he mentioned about one man that came in from a neighboring state in Kaduna to Kano, where I was, and the person had an interview session with one of the TV hosts, and the man was talking about how he started his own leather industry in the business. And I was curious. Oh, I've always been somebody that loves leathers. I love shoes. I love bags. I love wristwatch. I love leather, everything leather. And after the conversation that day, I walked up to him. I would like to have a contact of this person. He was happy to share it with me. And I reached out to the person on WhatsApp. He sent me his Instagram handle. I followed him up. For a couple of months, I followed him up. I saw what he was doing on Instagram, and I was amazed. And that was how the motivation started. And I told myself, okay, I'm going to move out from Kano State to Kaduna State to go and learn the skill. In 2020, I made the decision, okay. So throughout the COVID-19 era, I was in Kaduna State to learn the skill of leather and footwear production. So throughout that period, almost a year, I was in Kaduna State learning the skill. And after I learned the skill, I came back to Kano State. I did a 3 month internship with a very good friend of mine. His name is Shitu, who also trained from the institute. So I did a couple of internships with him, and he helped me. Well, he was literally walking me out on how the market is because he knew the industry better than me. So I learned from him. And after then, in March 2021, that's when I founded my company. Meanwhile, in 2019, I got registered, I incorporated my business, but in 2021, I started production.
That's
Yes.
incredible. I mean, going from learning
Yeah.
something to producing your own goods, you obviously had very good teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was trained with one of the best institute, I would say. It's 28 letters. So this institute are people that are very renowned in the leather industry, also in Nigeria. When you're talking about all crafts, all leather crafts, they are very good at it. And I got the opportunity to train with them, one of the best trainers who helped me in so many ways. And I see myself to be very somebody that if I put out my mind to do something, I go all out because I don't have any background in leather. I don't know how to. When I went there, I didn't know how to handle scissors, as common as scissors. So I got to learn every single thing, bit by bit.
Okay, so did your love of leather goods, maybe particularly shoes, start even before you learned, or were you able to appreciate it even more once you started your learning path?
Okay, so my love for shoes, I would say life on its own has a way of directing you. I'm a firm believer of God. So life on its own through your instinct or through the spirit of God in you has a way of directing you to where you ought to be. So it's left for you to pay attention to that instinct, to that spirit, and know how you need to do. Before I came into Kano, I know I worked with a leather, not a leather manufacturing brand, but the person was selling leather products back then, 2016, in Abia State. As a matter of fact, Abia State still is the top producers of leather and leather goods in Nigeria, across West Africa. Abia State, Aba, is known for that. So I got to work with this man a couple of months before I got to my service and was thrown back down to Kano State. So I didn't know that that was how I was to interconnect my journey into the leather industry. And when I eventually decided, okay, I was going to go into this skill that I was so passionate about, it's now reconnected me to how I started the journey, how I get to see how at least a bit of how leather is produced. And it was fascinating to me. So it was something I was very passionate about and I kept moving. And I would say I am happy that I divide all odds to pursue who I am, who I believe I am, because a lot of people find it difficult to accept that. How can you move away from technology, being a computer science graduate, into finding something into a non-traditional graft that people don't seem to appreciate? How are you going to do that? How are you going to succeed in that? And I just kept telling them in my mind, you just need to wait and see how it goes. So
That's super cool. The pursuit of something that is not necessarily traditional or expected sometimes can be difficult. How did you find pursuing the leather business? Because there's a business side to it,
yeah,
which would probably be sort of classified in that more traditional space.
Yeah.
It's business,
Yeah.
right? It's business. It's like finance. It's like becoming a lawyer. You're a business person.
Yeah.
But then there's the craft side and the design side and the side of the business that probably speaks more to your heart and more to your soul of why you're doing this. So where does the business start and stop, and where does the craft begin, or is there no division between the two?
Okay, so first of all, I would tell you that when I started as more of a craft person. I didn't know much about the business aspect of it. That's the honest truth. But then, in my journey, like I told you, I'm somebody that is very growth driven. I got to discover that if I really want to be outstanding, then I need to find a balance between crafts and business. And then I went on from me that didn't have any clue about business. I started taking business courses. Part of those courses, when I took the entrepreneurship, starting your own business, YALI entrepreneurship course was one of those courses that I took. I took servant leadership to deciding difference. Those courses stood out for me. Another course that I took that stood out for me was resilience. So I took about 4 courses or 5 from YALI and I got the certificates. Then I moved on to other courses like from the CBC Nigeria, the Creative Business Corp Enterprise. I took business courses from there. I went on to take a course on I take a lot of business courses actually, but those are the few I can remember. And even the Tony Lumelu Foundation, I took a lot of business courses from there. And I got to know that there's a need for me to build myself more as a business person and balance the craft part of it. So in my mind, I know I have to sit and do the craft, but I also have the business argument to own my company, especially when in Nigeria, when you're starting a business, it's very, very difficult because you literally be the one to do everything. You literally be the one to do everything from crafting to business to projects, everything about the business. You literally be the one. So that's why I said I'm a growth addict. So I get to self-learn almost everything and it keeps me motivating. And now I'm happy that even when I see myself more as a business person, I tend to balance the craft part and the business. So I get to bring in more team members, I train them, and with the knowledge that I've had, I'm able to train people and they are better. They are even crafting better shoes than myself. And I'm now able to, okay, I'm now the business person that is going to manage this business. And that's the journey for me.
That's the best part, right? When somebody can learn something from you and take that knowledge and do something even better. Because, while you love the craft part of it, you love the physical, tactile working of it. You need people that are going to take that and build on it.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about the training that you do.
Okay, so I stay in a community in Kano State where about it has a population of about 30,000 youths, and I observed that a good number of these youths are either unemployed, uneducated, or unskilled. And the northern part of Nigeria is one of those regions that has a high level of insecurity. And I sat down one day and asked myself, what if I could make an intentional decision of engaging these youths that are uneducated, unskilled, and unemployed in a skill where they can learn how to, maybe from shoemaking, maybe from leather crafting, they can learn how to at least make a source of income for themselves in such a way they would be meaningfully engaged and they will know how to channel their lives, the energy they need, the positive energy they need to channel their lives into, and they could become a better version of themselves. And that was how I started. I met the community leaders and shared the idea with them, and that was how they got accepted. So I started training people for free. In as much as we're trying to make education accessible to everyone, there are a few people, maybe because of their economic backgrounds or financial backgrounds, that are not able to get to the formal education down to maybe the colleges or so. These are the people that we're looking into and seeing how we could use our skills to transform their lives by making sure that they engage in meaningful skills that could transform their lives. So, and I also believe that on a long run, a long-term goal, pursuing this in the next couple of 10 years, we would have reduced the rate of insecurity.
And when you say insecurity, you're talking about poverty, cycles of maybe mental health issues. What does insecurity mean?
Okay, so like I mentioned, I stay in the northern region of Nigeria, and for a couple of years or decades now, like a decade now, yeah, there has been some form of insurgent attacks on some northern part of Nigeria, particularly the northeast states. And one of the things that I feel went wrong is we are not channeling our energy into helping these people to help focus their life on how they need to redirect their focus, instead of just sitting around without doing anything or without having anything to do, into seeing how we could proper engage them so that they can foster peace. And one of the ways I feel that could come in is meaningfully engaging them in skill acquisition trainings. So if that happens, we'll discover that over time, we would be able to realign and refocus their energy from just doing things that would not be meaningful to their lives to things that would make their life better version of themselves.
Can you?
Okay.
Sorry, please finish. Yeah.
Yeah. So they would be able to own their own life by making sure that at least they have a sustainable source of income and they can be empowered to become whoever they want to be.
Can you tell me a story of someone in particular that you've worked with where you've seen a significant change in their life?
Yeah, sure. In Nigeria, where I stay, there is a particular lady, because I'm also interested in developing young women. There's a particular lady that's also a graduate, but she wasn't able to get a job, just almost like my own situation. And when I made a call that, okay, I want to train few people on this skill, she opted in. And she had already had a skill on as a fashion designer. So she was looking at complementing the skill with leather works. And I said, okay, I'm cool. And I was able to work with her to train her for a couple of months. And after that, I am happy that she's on a journey to also owning her own ventures. She complements what she does in the fashion to what I taught her. So that's pretty much example. So I believe that doing this more and more, we'll be able to have more youths that, and also not just training them on the skill aspect, but training them on the business management as well. We'll be able to together create employment opportunities for more people, more youths, and we'll be able to curtail whatever form of crisis or social vices that we could see in my community and in Nigeria as a whole. And I'm hoping to also have a training clusters in at least major regional states in Nigeria, where if I have funding, maybe support funding from maybe government or international agencies, we should be able to we should be able to set up a training cluster where we'll have weeks of training with these people. And at the end of it, if we are not able to empower them individually by certain machine, we should be able to have a place where we set up a meeting, a machineries and skills where they can come from neighboring communities, get to work, use that machines, and get to work and produce their product and market them, take it to the market. So trying to see how we can work with government agencies, work with individuals, work with funders, work with donors to set up these regional clusters where people could, after they get the training, they could access these machines, make use of the skills and create products, then move it to the market and sell their product. And because I am also the chairman of the Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria in Kano State, I am able to foster collaboration with working with other cobblers in Kano State and across Nigeria to see how we can synergize efforts to make these things happen.
Where is the biggest point of pride that you see when you work with somebody that you've trained? Tell me about a time where somebody that you have trained has crossed paths with you again and is able to, show you the transformation?
Okay. First of all, I'm very much happy for this very particular question because as you asked the question, I remember a lady she's still an undergraduate. She was not done with the school, but she's also somebody that's very committed to fashion and to leather manufacturing. So she knows how to do the leather backpacks, but she doesn't know how to do the shoes. So she reached out to me that she wants to gain a training. And after close to 2 months of working with us, I was amazed at the first couple of corporate shoe that she made for herself. I literally showed her how to do it starting from the crafting of the pattern and everything. And I was so amazed that even when I was here in the US, she was able to work because I told her, I want you to work on this shoe, deliver it, send me the picture. And wherever I am in the US, I'll be happy that you finally did this. And she has been able to do that. And she sent me a couple of the pictures some weeks ago when I was still in New Jersey. And I was very much happy. So that alone has also shown me that, okay, if she can do it, then other young girls, other youths can also do it. I also have another guy, Emmanuel, who did not have a clue about leather. Yes, she didn't have a clue about leather, but we got connected and I told him, okay, you can come to my space and I'm going to train you. And the guy has been there with me till now. He still works with us and he's also doing amazingly well. So these are things that gives me that self-fulfillment that, okay, with the little things I'm doing, I'm able to transform lives. Yeah.
That's great. Is there something that we haven't talked about that is either very important to you or you think makes up a part of your story that we haven't touched on yet?
Okay. First, one of the things I would like us to discuss about is my journey into becoming a volunteer with YALI Network and how, as a strong advocate and a volunteer, being in the YALI Network has actually been transformational.
Okay, so let's start talking about that. Maybe we can start with a very brief answer to this question. What does YALI mean to you?
Well, for me, I see YALI as that community where every youth needs to belong, because if you are intentional about everything you do with YALI, if you're intentional about everything that YALI offers, in one way or the other, you would be able to reshape your life. You'll be able to gain better clarity of who you are, and you could be able to focus your life on what you want to be and become who you need to be.
So how did YALI play a role in your life? How did you come to find YALI, and how did you start your volunteerism journey?
Okay, so in 2019, I got to know about YALI when we had the National Summit. And I was in Kano. The National Summit was in Abuja. And I really wanted to be part of the summit to get to know how it is done. And I paid my way down to Abuja. I attended the summit for like 3 days. And after the summit, I got to discover that YALI has face-to-face network hubs in almost all the states. And then I got to meet the then state coordinator of YALI Network, Kano. I think he's currently done with his master's degree program now. And he's also an amazing person that motivates me a lot. He inspires me. So the guy spoke to him. I joined the YALI Network 2020 with them, and we volunteered. I was very active, and that's how I got elected as the secretary of the YALI Network, Kano State, in, I think that was 2021. So I held that position 2021 to 2022 as a YALI Secretary Network and election, because in YALI Network face-to-face elections is done annually. So I transitioned from being a YALI Secretary to the state coordinator of YALI Network, Kano State. And for me, that moment was very humbling, because I got to discover that a lot of people had confidence in me. a lot of people have this. They saw me to be somebody that is trustworthy and reliable, and it was something that was very humbling. And then I moved on to become the state coordinator of YALI Network Kano. Becoming a state coordinator of YALI Network Kano, I synergized effort with other YALI state coordinators across the 36 states, and that was how we were able to rewrite the YALI constitution. We were able to formalize the first, one of the best YALI summits in Nigeria, and we were able to bring YALI Network members and the coordinators from across the 36 states to the Abuja, where we had the national summit. We want to integrate everyone into the YALI platform. We have thousands of YALI volunteers across Nigeria, because truly, if these people could volunteer their time, volunteer their resources and their energy, because I remember then almost every community volunteering services that we did, from the street cleaning exercise where we partner with the Kano state government to perform monthly sanitation exercise, to the skill acquisition training, down to the blood donation drive that I championed, down to the PVC sensitization, where we sensitize the youth on the need to get their PVCs for the election that was concluded last year, and other things that we're able to do as YALI Network. Nobody paid us. So we often mobilize funds by ourselves, you understand, to bring these people together. At the end, we have to have at least a little refreshment. Yes. So these are things that we tend to volunteer ourselves and bring in these resources to get this thing done. So I believe if I was able to get these things done, even without having financial or any support from anyone, then I feel the YALI Network members are one of the best beneficiaries.
Festus, you started talking about leather, but you are most passionate about YALI and volunteerism.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm also really impressed with how coordinated YALI is in Nigeria. It's amazing, because as long as that positivity comes through in how you help people learn how to YALI, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I feel one of the key components that was missing in majority of the Nigerian communities, I realized that there is need for us to build a volunteerism spirit, or volunteering spirit in our youth. Because if that happens, we would be able to know that we should be able to build the community that we want. So I'll tell you a little story. In 2022, when we did one of the monthly street cleaning exercises, oftentimes when we go out to streets to clean the streets, make the people that stays around the streets to be safe from maybe malaria and other things, and we just go that intentionally. And thanks for the Kano State government, the environmental agency, who was being very supportive to us. So one of the questions that people get to ask us was, we get paid for it? And another one was that we are supported by maybe a political party, and I was able to intentionally preach to them and let them know that this community is yours. If anything happens, if there's a breakout disease or out of maybe the street is not sanitized or nobody's going to be safe. So we have to take the responsibility of saving our community by doing the little that we can. We are not paid. We don't have any affiliation with any political party. We are just volunteers who are passionate about seeing the change in our communities. And when we did that in one of those communities, in Dakata community, I got to realize that those community members, the youth, they joined us. They were so happy to join us and jump into the trucks, help us pack some dirt from the streets, and that's how they were happy. And a good number of them get to see what we do, and that's how we bring them to the YALI Network.
It's a good way for somebody to see that it gives people something to do.
Yeah.
It makes people feel good about themselves because they're helping somebody else.
Yeah.
And helping other people makes us feel good.
Yeah.
So what about volunteerism in Nigeria, in Africa, if you're comfortable generalizing, how is volunteerism seen?
Well, for me, I would speak first as a Nigerian because I understand the Nigerian context better. I would say that there is an increasing engagement in youth volunteering now as against how it was before. Although there are a lot of Nigerians who feel I'm not going to be committed into doing anything if it will not bring me money. I don't want to waste my time to volunteer to do anything if it will not bring me money. And I'm like, it's not everything that needs to bring you money. There are things that you just need to do first because you're human. So, for instance, when we initiated the blood donation drive, I've never donated blood before. I'm an O positive, and I learned that I'm a universal donor. And most times, I even got to know that if my blood stays a very longer time in my body without releasing it out, I could get stuck in some kind of sickness. And I'm like, okay, so why can't I just spare a few minutes and donate this blood to people that needs it? And that's how we went in as a team. I mobilized the YALI Network members, and we went to the National Hospital in Kano State. It's a government hospital. We spoke with the CMD, and he gave us approval. And we went and we donated blood. I don't know them from anywhere. But my happiness is if donating blood could save lives, I'm good by that. And so since then, I became more intentional. I've donated blood to sickle cell fighters. There's this organization that calls regularly. If I'm around, like, are you ready? Will you help us? There's a victim that needs a blood. And if I'm available, okay, sure, I can do that. This is something that I get from God for free. So if I can just help people to secure their lives, it's so fulfilling for me. I don't need to know them, but I just need to understand that in one way or the other, people's life has to be transformed. And if we can all collectively build this mindset, we could build a better community.
That's a beautiful intentionality, and I think a great place to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, we talked about the shoes, but I don't think it's about the shoes.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, one of the things that I want to do in the next 10 to 15 years, I want to see, because Africa as a whole has about 60 to 70% youth population. And if our population is going to be increased by 2030 according to the statistics, or 2050 according to the statistics, then there should be more intentionality in building the youth. And as a business person, I am committed to even doing more by making sure I train more people on the skills of business, leader, and any other vocational skills. I'm going to start, as I've started already in Kano State, but I'm also looking at, as I've come here to meet other fellows from African countries, I'm also looking at expanding this drive to other African countries. That way, we could be able to engage youth meaningfully. They could be able to produce shoes. They could be able to produce or own any skills that they are passionate about, and they would be able to be better advocates of governance, economic development in their states, in their countries. So I feel this is a clarion call on me first to see how I can synergize energy and get these things happen. And I'm looking at the reciprocal exchange programs of YALI. I want to take advantage of that to see how I can get grants and funding opportunities, because it's going to involve a lot of traveling around, a lot of site visit, a lot of seeing how to get these things done in other people's countries. Yes, in other African countries. So I'm going to see how I can get funding and get these things done. So that's one of the milestones I want to commence working on. But I wouldn't relent, starting from my community, where at least I have access to.
It all starts from community.
From community. And then one other thing I would love to encourage other African countries to look into how the YALI Network Nigeria is being structured. I mean, I was very much impressed that coming here, I was able to meet the alumni president and the secretary of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Alumni Association of Nigeria and some of the embassy staff in Nigeria. They're already here with us. So I want to encourage other African countries who are part of this YALI network to look at how they can bring it from the national level down to the grassroots, just like what is happening in Nigeria, so that every youth could get to know about what YALI is and how YALI can help build Africa. Because after all, this fellowship is Young African Leaders Initiative. So the initiative needs to be taken down to the grassroots. And we need to intentionally position ourselves to make use of all the YALI resources, the YALI learns, every aspect of the YALI resources that has been given to us to make sure we maximize it and be a transformative youth agent in our communities.
Thank you so much, Festus. It's been great talking with you. It's been great hearing about your journey and the power of YALI for good.
It is. Thank you very much.
To follow what Festus is doing, have a look out for his social media links in the podcast episode notes. Be sure to come back for more inspiring stories from young African leaders on the YALI Voices podcast. Join the YALI Network at yali.state.gov and be a part of something bigger. Our theme music is Ego Happen by Grace Jerry and produced by the Presidential Precinct. The YALI Voices podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Department of State and is part of the Young African Leaders Initiative Network, which is funded by the U.S. government.